What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful 24 official channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. Eric makes a jaw-dropping discovery about Nick, and Katie drops in to needle Taylor. Eric issues warnings, Nick plans to propose, and Finn inquires about Grace. In Italy, Nick flashes back to smoking a cigar in Brooke's face when they first met. At the time, he introduced himself as Captain Nick Payne. As he looks out over the water, he sighs and recalls how they became friends. More flashbacks, as Brooke, in her suite, recalls complaining to Ridge the day before that they're not together. In another suite, Eric harps on Ridge that the clock is ticking and Nick won't take no for an answer. He understands that he wants to make good on his promise to Taylor, but Brooke is the love of his life. Ridge tries to convince himself that Brooke doesn't need a man and won't fall for Marone's crap. Eric, wearing a distracting pink button-down and puffy vest, tells his son that Taylor is safe and predictable, but Brooke makes your heart race. Ridge, thankfully, stops him from going further down that road. Undeterred, Eric urges Ridge to stop punishing Logan for taking the CEO position. He overreacted and needs to do something about it. Brooke's earphones prevent her from hearing Ridge as he knocks on her suite door. He loses hope. Down on the dock, Nick conveniently pulls out a ring box and ogles the engagement ring inside it as Eric appears. The Forrester's jaw hits the ground as he realizes Nick's planning to skip right over dating and propose to Brooke. In her suite, Brooke reads a sweet text from Nick as Eric comes banging on the door, agitated and claiming he's looking for Ridge. Eric gets right to the point after she gushes about Naples and warns her not to let Nick exploit her vulnerability. He randomly pleads, "Don't give in to Nick." Brooke says that's who she's off to meet and leaves him standing alone in her room. Will Finn break Grace? Finn and Bridget talk about Liam's questionable surgery in the Los Angeles hospital. He's more determined than ever to talk to Grace Buckingham today. They go over the situation and conclude, yet again, that something is not adding up. Finn and Bridget keep repeating themselves until Grace shows up. Finn pastes on his most intimidating expression and questions her about Liam Spencer's miraculous recovery. Grace chirps that they will just have to trust her instead of facing the Great Inquisition, and she runs away. Is Taylor going to see the light? At the Forrester mansion, Katie takes time out from doing PR to pot stir as she shows up to needle Taylor about Ridge being in Italy with Brooke. It goes over as well as one would expect, and they get right to arguing over whether Brooke should be with Nick or Ridge. Katie twists the knife by declaring that Eric wants his son with Ridge. Taylor is certain that Brooke will get engaged again to Nick and that Eric will fail if he tries anything in Italy. Taylor has learned nothing from her previous experiences. You're quite the optimist, Katie mocks. Taylor keeps going. Who will show up? In Italy, Brooke waits for Nick but thinks about Ridge the whole time, so we get another series of flashbacks, including the oft-revisited keyhole reunion in Rome. Ridge suddenly appears and taps her on the shoulder. Eric makes Nick and Brooke's dreams a reality. The Bold and the Beautiful tease the romance and angst in Italy growing while Eric intervenes again. Brooke's dreams come true. Brooke Logan was enraged and couldn't take it anymore after their unforgettable boat ride to the Isle of Capri. All that romance for what? When they got back to Los Angeles, Ridge Forrester insisted that he would marry Taylor Hayes. Brooke didn't want to be around the madness anymore and told Ridge she was going home, but Ridge stopped her and begged her not to go. Ridge finally gets caught up in the moment and realizes that he still has feelings for Brooke but doesn't know how to deal with Taylor, the woman he almost killed when he rejected her the first time. And what about Nick Marone, the man who has been begging Brooke to give him a chance? After all, Nick has promised to love Brooke and only Brooke. He doesn't have a divided heart as Ridge has always had. For many years, Brooke has been a little taken aback by Nick's words, but that pales in comparison to the emotions she experiences when she is in the presence of her destiny. Eric takes over. Nick's discovery of Brooke and Ridge would jeopardize Eric Forrester's grand plans, so he won't let it happen. He has worked diligently for months to convince Ridge that he belongs with Brooke. If Eric cannot have Brooke, his son should, and he will continue to play pickleball with Donna Logan and choose Brooke's younger sister. Nick hears Eric talk about how Brooke and Ridge are each other's destinies, but Nick doesn't buy it because Ridge has hurt Brooke a lot over the years. Too bad for Nick that Eric is relentless and won't allow Nick to find Brooke. He won't go back to Los Angeles without Brooke and Ridge. He doesn't care how much Taylor, his houseguest, hurts him. She just might be the odd woman out again. Underneath the waves on Capri's sun-drenched coast, A storm that isn't caused by the weather but rather by emotions, destiny, and buried truths that won't go away. The picturesque backdrop only intensifies the pulse of the drama unfolding on The Bold and the Beautiful, where love triangles reign eternal and every reunion brings with it the promise of heartbreak or ecstasy. Eric Forrester, the patriarch of the clan and an ever-watchful eye over Ridge's tangled romantic life, makes a jaw-dropping discovery that threatens to shift the course of several lives, most notably that of Brooke Logan, the woman who has long stood at the center of two men's rival affections, Ridge Forrester and Nick Marone. As Eric witnesses Nick flashing an engagement ring at the dock, his stomach sinks. It's not just the gaudy size of the rock or Nick's smug expression that rattles him, it's the realization that Marone is skipping straight to a proposal without so much as a courtship, taking advantage of Brooke's vulnerability following her latest disappointment with Ridge. Eric sees the move as prey, and even more importantly, he sees it as a threat to the future he has worked so hard to plan, Ridge and Brooke's reunion after decades of false starts. The realization throws him into high alert, and he storms through the Italian villa to intervene before Brooke makes a decision she'll regret. In the meantime, Brooke is lost in her thoughts in her suite, using her earbuds to drown out the confusion around her. Nick's voice echoes in her memory, Captain Nick Payne, the roguish sea captain who once made her laugh and feel seen in a way Ridge rarely could. But even as she receives a sweet text from Nick, her heart drifts to Ridge, the man who has wounded her countless times yet still feels like home. Her face is a storm of mixed feelings. She reads the message again, then glances toward the door. It's only after Ridge leaves, unseen, after knocking and hearing no response, that Eric barges in and throws cold water on her fantasy. He's not looking for Ridge, not really. What he wants is to shake Brooke awake before it's too late. Don't give in to Nick, he begs, his urgency making him nearly breathless. Brooke, flustered and unprepared for such a confrontation, listens but can't deny that her meeting with Nick is already set. She's going Eric's protest or not. Eric's confrontation with Nick outside is just as intense. As he catches the Marone heir toying with the ring box, the implications hit like a freight train. Eric's words are more of a demand than a question, not a proposal. But Nick, cool and self-assured, makes it clear that he wants to give Brooke a new life free of Ridge's back-and-forth emotional manipulation, not just a ring. Eric explodes. Legacy is just as important as love. Ridge is a part of Brooke, and if he doesn't stop Nick, he might lose that story forever. Ridge belongs to Brooke. Back in Los Angeles, at the hospital, the tension is no less palpable. Dr. John Finnegan Finn is piecing together a mystery of his own. Alongside Bridget, he ponders the miraculous recovery of Liam Spencer, a case wrapped in red flags and inconsistencies. Doctor is to blame for the curiosity. Buckingham Grace Finn constantly questions Grace while adopting his most intimidating professional demeanor when she arrives. Grace, on the other hand, avoids the question with an airy, "You'll just have to trust me," grin. Then she disappears, leaving Finn more suspicious than ever. Something is wrong, very wrong, and he's determined to get to the bottom of it. Taylor Hayes, on the other hand, isn't exactly giddy at the Forrester mansion. Katie Logan, never one to miss a chance to stir the pot, drops by under the guise of PR work and begins poking at Taylor's precarious sense of security. Ridge is in Italy, Katie reminds her with Brooke. Katie is direct, whereas Taylor holds on to the hope that Brooke will rekindle her engagement to Nick. "You're quite the optimist," she sneers, pointing out that Eric is actively rooting for Brooke and Ridge. Taylor brushes off the provocation, insisting that Brooke is finally done with Ridge. However, her bravado is at best shaky.